Hello, everyone. Again, I'm Yen Nong, and welcome back to the Safe Babies Guide to Implementation Training. We have discussed the importance of motivational interviewing as part of administering the PAP. So in this module, I will provide a quick and simple introduction or a refresher for those who have been trained before on motivational interviewing. Our objective is to help you understand key motivational interviewing elements to help you effectively administer the PAP. So before we dive into the key elements, the main purpose of motivational interviewing is to be an effective way of talking with people to elicit change or get them to make plans for possible difficult situations in the near future. It is a method of communication rather than a set of techniques, and it is a person-centered, goal-oriented approach for facilitating change, making strategies, and planning ahead by exploring and resolving ambivalence. Lastly, motivational interviewing is not used to get people to do what they don't want to do. Rather, it is a fundamental way of being with and for people, a facilitative approach to communication that evokes change or induces people to strategize and plan for difficult situations ahead. The spirit of motivational interviewing includes partnership, acceptance, compassion, avocation, also known as PACE. Partnership embodies working together with mutual respect. Acceptance is respecting the maternal caregiver's role as the decision maker. Provide empathy in your reflections toward the caregivers by allowing them to know that you really heard them and affirm the maternal caregiver's strengths. Compassion means to look out for the best interests of the maternal caregivers and their families, so to have the best outcomes for them, not what you think would be best for them. And avocation means helping the caregivers develop strategies that come from maternal caregivers so they can plan ahead for possible difficult situations with their babies. The core skills for motivation interviewing can be easily remembered as the ORs. O is for open-ended questions that encourages the maternal caregivers to discuss the strategies from their own perspective. Some examples are, you can say, tell me about, to what extent, how often, or how do you think that would work for you? A is for affirmation, which are statements that you can observe are successes or achievements by the caregivers. Some examples you can say are, you really love your family, or I see you were successful in. R is for reflections. Listen to gain an understanding of the maternal caregiver's feelings and motivations as she plans ahead, and then offer back what you heard and understood. This validates the caregivers and confirms your understanding is correct. An example that you could say would be, it sounds like you, or what you are saying is. S is for summary. Provide the maternal caregiver with a succinct summary of her plans and strategies. This communicates your understanding and reviews important elements of the discussion, and it's also a reminder to her of what was discussed. There are 4 main tasks to motivational interviewing. The first task for you is using motivational interviewing to engage through having sensitive conversations with the maternal caregiver. This process helps to establish a trusting and mutual respectful relationship and builds the relational foundation between you and the caregiver. You can do this by using the ORs we had just discussed to start learning about the maternal caregiver and gain her trust. Be a good listener, be empathetic, really put yourselves in the maternal caregiver's shoes, and allow her to share her story. Avoid trying to fix what you see as wrong. It is important to set a non-judgmental tone in order to help her think through possible difficult situations during her baby's infancy. The next task is to guide the maternal caregivers to stay focused on what's important regarding behavior, health, and welfare. You can do this by helping the caregiver identify a target area about which she is ambivalent or struggling to make a plan ahead. Setting an agenda, goals, priorities, and help provide a clear direction by asking the maternal caregiver what's important to her and what area of present behavior might get in the way of her goals. The next task is to evoke the maternal caregiver's personal motivation to plan ahead. This is done by drawing out maternal caregivers' own ideas and reasons for wanting to plan ahead, listen for and recognize the desire to plan, selectively reinforce those desires, and summarize those desires so she feels encouraged. It is important that you avoid the expert trap by telling her what should be done or what she should plan for. Ask questions, provide feedback, ask more questions, and then offer advice after asking the caregiver for her own ideas and reasons. To do this, you can say something like, why is planning ahead important to you? What would be your first step to plan for the difficult situation? Or, would this particular strategy be helpful for you? Again, remember to avoid telling her what should be done or what she should do. It is important to have her decide what would be best for her. Lastly, help the maternal caregiver plan for the possible difficult situations. Consolidate her commitment by selectively reinforcing her plan and strategy, asking her key questions to determine readiness to put her plans in action when the difficult situation arises, and assisting to make sure her plans are SMART, meaning they are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. To conclude, motivational interviewers should value diversity in the caregivers because motivational interviewing is person-centered. It is what is best for your maternal caregivers in their point of view, not what you think is best for them. Second, it is important to conduct a self-assessment. Interviewers need to be mindful of his or her own assumptions and experiences. Third, interviewers should manage the dynamics of difference, as in interviewers should be non-judgmental, respects the maternal caregiver's autonomy, and reduces explicit power differentials. The interviewer should also acquire and incorporate cultural knowledge. Interviewers should help identify and mobilize maternal caregivers' intrinsic values, beliefs, and goals. Lastly, interviewers should adapt to diversity and the cultural contexts of the caregivers. Remember, it is about the caregivers and what makes sense to them. Here, I will share a couple of examples of how to respond with and without motivational interviewing principles. A caregiver could say to you, I know sleeping with my baby in the same bed is not recommended, but I love having her fall asleep with me. But I know it is recommended to put her in her own crib. A non-motivational interviewing response would be, then why don't you? Some possible motivational interviewing response would be, may I tell you what concerns me about you sleeping in the same bed as your baby? Or, you are certainly right about it not being recommended to sleep in the same bed with your baby. Tell me more about what is concerning when sharing a bed with your baby. Or you can also say, I'm glad you know you should put your baby in her own crib. What can help you to always put your baby in her own crib? Another example would be a caregiver saying to you, my baby cries all the time and I have no idea why. Sometimes I get so frustrated, I just want to shake her so she would stop. I don't want to hurt her though. A non-MI response would be, you should never ever shake your baby. But a possible MI response would be, I understand how frustrating a baby can be. May I share with you some ways for you to better cope with the crying? Or, I'm glad to know that you know shaking could hurt your baby. Can you think of any ways that helps you relax and stay calm that could be applied to this situation? Or, you are right that shaking can definitely hurt your baby. Tell me if you have done anything that has helped you handle the crying better that won't hurt your baby. These are just a couple of examples that could be applied when you administer the PAP. If you want more information on motivational interviewing, please go to these two resourceful websites to learn more. Remember, motivational interviewing is meeting someone where they are, and only in helping them identify their strengths and motivations can we help them plan ahead to create a positive change. Thank you so much for your time and participation today.